afternoon. Today I'm here to talk about the topic that I choose for the Yoga Day celebration. And my topic is Agni and the gut-brain axis, ancient Yogic Wisdom meets modern neuroscience. Okay, I would like to start with a simple yet radical question. What if digestion is not only about food, but how we process life? Digestive disorders are increasing in our world. A lot of people are suffering of bloating, constipation, IBS, reflux, and inflammation. But all these disorders are functional. This means that the organs are intact. So this leads us to one question. How are we living if our organs are intact and yet we have this kind of diseases? We live in a chronic stress. We live in constant stimulation. We live in irregular rhythms. And because, for example, we're eating while distracting, we sleep poorly, we don't have a regular life. We are overwhelmed by a lot of stimulation. This problem within the modern science are labeled like as the gut-brain axis. But at the same time, thousands years ago, the Yogic and Ayurvedic tradition found something really similar, which is Agni, the digestive fire. And today I would like to explore the dialogue between these two different words and how, if we can make them work together, how we can help understanding the digestive health in modern world. So let's start with the gut-brain axis. The gut is not just a passive organ. Has its own nervous system, which is the enteric nervous system, that has 100 millions neurons. And with this nervous system, the gut communicates with brain. So it's not just the brain that send impulses to the gut, but also the contrary. And it communicates with brain through, first of all, the vagus system, the vagus nerve, which is one of the most important nerve that we have in our body. And you can imagine that the 80% of vagal fibers travels from gut to brain and not the contrary. So it's very important that the vagus nerve to signal to the brain how the gut is feeling. Then we have the macrobiota, which is the complex system with hundreds of trillions microorganisms that they have their own life and they can send a signal to the brain as well. Then the gut communicates with the brain through the immune signaling, and also we know very well the cortisol and stress response. So let's consider stress. Stress influenced the digestion. When we have a sympathetic activation, motility, secretion, and blood flow to gut are decreasing, and the cortisol is increasing. When this situation became chronic, we can experience dysbiosis, low-grade inflammation, an altered permeability of the intestine, and dysregulated motility. This means that the system is not broken, it's just dysregulated. In the Ayurvedic and Yogic map, we found, as I said before, the Agni, which is the digestive fire. Agni is the principle of transformation, and it's the fire that transforms the food into nourishment. is how we metabolize food. But not just that. It's also how we metabolize experiences, emotions, feelings, even thoughts. Agni can be balanced, irregular, weak, or excessive. When is balanced, the fire is steady and luminous. When is irregular, the fire is unstable. When weak, is slow and damped. When is excessive, is sharp and inflamed. So it's very important to have a balanced Agni. When Agni is impaired, we found Ama. Ama is the undigested residue. And Ama accumulates when transformation is incomplete. When we have abstract channels and we can feel heaviness. The result of this undigested residue is an incomplete digestion, microbial imbalance, inflammatory metabolites, inflammation, and brain fog. And as you can see, there is a very strong parallel between Agni and Ama and the modern science. The fire burns well when the system feels safe and rhythmic. This is very, very important. In the subtle yogic anatomy, in this area, so the area between the stomach and the gut, we have a very important chakra, which is Manipura chakra. It's the chakra of the fire element. It governs autonomy, vitality, personal power, self-regulation, and metabolic intelligence. But it's also very important because it's located in one of the most important plexus that we have in our body, the celiac or solar plexus, which is connected also with other two plexuses that are in that area, which are the superior mesenteric plexus and the abdominal aortal plexus. And all these plexus together work to signal to the brain what happens in our body, especially concern about the digestion. And all these plexus talks about safety and regulation. When we feel safe, our digestion goes well because when we feel safe, our autonomic nervous system shift on parasympathetic state. So we can digest, we can rest, our blood flows from the body to the gut, we are calm, and everything is working smooth. But as soon as we feel not safe, our digestion stops. When we perceive a threat, even if it's not a real threat as happened when we were at the beginning of the human race. For example, once upon a time, if we cross the street, the path with a tiger, obviously it was a real threat for our life, and the sympathetic nervous system activate. Now we have the sympathetic activation almost constant for every single thing that happens in our life. For example, we have to talk with our boss, we have to tell our partner something is not good, we have a deadline in our job, and we perceive stress. In this case, when our survival mode is constantly activated, we can experience digestive problem, because this chronic stress it reflects on our digestive process. Okay, now let's try to bridge these two words, the yogic wisdom and the modern science. In the yogic wisdom, we have Agni, and in the modern science, we have metabolic regulation. In Yogic Wisdom, we have ama, and in modern science, we have inflammation. In Yogic Wisdom, we have pranayama, and in modern science, we have vagal tone. In Yogic Wisdom, we have dinacharya, and in modern science, we have circadian rhythm. Both these maps are observing the same fundamental principle. Transformation requires regulation, and regulation requires safety. The digestive fire does not burn steadily in a system that feels under threat. In this sense, the gut-brain axis becomes the physiological expression of Agni. In yoga, we have several tools that can help us to restore digestive intelligence. We have pranayama that can help us to slow the breath. Slow breathing is very important if we have gut issues, especially if we try to exhale longer than the inhalation. For example, we can inhale for count of 4 and exhale to the count of 8. Then we have asanas. For example, gentle twists are very helping if we have gut a problem, because they help us to massage the gut. For example, one pose can be Supta Matsyendrasana. Yoga helps us even with the sleep, because if we have problem with sleep, if we don't sleep during the night, or we have difficult to fall asleep, we can practice yoga nidra or some kind of meditation that can help us to calm down and start a new rhythm in our sleep. Yoga can help us also because we are more mindful, and so maybe we can start to have more rhythm in meals, which is very important for our gut, to start to eat more or less at the same time during the day. And yoga help us to be more mindful on what we put inside our body, not just the food, which are very, very important. We start to know how our body responds to some food, but also emotion, person, situation. We start to choose more wisely what we have to confront with in our life. One tool that is very important, is not really yogic, but it's important for our gut, is to pause a little bit before eating, not just pass from working and then eating, because our nervous system is on sympathetic activation. So if we stop a little bit, maybe pause the hands on the gut, so we can feel more safe, and we can start to slow the breathing, maybe breathe with the abdomen. We can shift our nervous system in parasympathetic, and so the digestive process can start while we're eating, and everything goes more smoothly. It's clear that the digestive challenges of modern life are not primarily nutritional, but regulatory. We are totally disconnected from our rhythms, but health depends on steadiness. I would like to conclude this intervention saying that the science confirms that digestion flourishes in parasympathetic balance. When the nervous system feels safe, digestion flows. When Agni is steady, life becomes digestible. Thank you.